Could you imagine owning one Airbnb property and then getting up to 30 without having to use all of your own money to get that far? That's what today's guest did, and he is a 34-time Superhost, and he is here dropping all the knowledge to get 5-star reviews and make way more revenue going into 2026. Let's talk about it in today's episode. Running short-term rentals is constant work. Guest in, guest out, and you're still expected to be your own bookkeeper? I had multiple listings going and no real way to manage the money that was coming in. Between flipping beds and trying to match receipts from a payment a month ago, I couldn't even know if I was making real money. That's when I found BaseLane. It's the official banking platform of BiggerPockets, and it handles all of the tracking and reporting I used to do manually. Now I can see real-time financial reports for each listing and know if there's a problem that's arising. For example, last month I had a 300% spike in my electric at one of my properties, and I realized that I needed to do something. I quickly set up a smart thermostat inside of it, and my electricity bill was cut almost in half. Thanks to things like BaseLane, I avoided losing my profits and actually getting them back in my pocket. Start protecting your profits today by signing up at baselane.com/BP, and you'll get your $100 bonus right when you sign up. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of BiggerStays. My name is Garrett Brown. I'm the resident BiggerPockets short-term rental expert. And today I am super excited because we have another expert in the field coming on, Jason Muth from Prideaway Stays. Jason, welcome to the show.
What's going on, Garrett? It's great to see you again. Thanks for having me on.
Likewise, I'm super excited to chat. We've known each other probably about a year and a half now. We connected through BiggerPockets, and you put out some of my favorite content on IG because you're an actual host who day-to-day lives this. You don't sugarcoat the bad sides, but you also are teaching people how you have been successful in it through practical measures. And so anybody that is watching this is about to get a ton of nuggets on how you have built one of the best operations I have seen on. How many units do you manage right now?
Garrett, this is a lot to live up to already. I mean, you've built this up, right? So
come on.
As of this recording, we have 31. I own 5 and we have 26 co-hosting clients right now.
Amazing. And I promise you, I see a ton of people in this space and your tips are practical, implementable for people and things that would actually make a difference in the revenue they can have, the guest experience they provide. It's things that people overlook. So I can't wait to dive in, but I really just want to start with your story a little bit. Like, how did you even get into the short-term rental world? It's always amazing seeing ways people kind of gotten into this business and how you've truly grown it into a business.
I did not study this in college like you did. I just learned that you did hospitality. We bought our first short-term rental property. It was a lake house in 2016. I was working full-time in the media business, and we had some extra money to invest. And the short of the long story is that my in-laws have now since retired to that same lake. My family or my husband had been going up there for many, many years. I had a sense we were going to be going up there with a future young child. That new young child is now 6.5 years old. And I'm allergic to cats. They have cats. I couldn't stay at their place. They actually had another property next door that they had just kind of like renovated and flipped, and they put on Airbnb before I even knew about Airbnb. And it was just like, the bed was so uncomfortable. The floor was really loud. I just couldn't stay there either. And we happened to see a place for sale down the street. This is back when things sat on the market a little bit more. I know that wherever you're listening to this, the market is very different across the country. In the Northeast in 2016, things sat for a little bit. Right now, they kind of still move. We saw the property. It's about 2,000 square foot, 4-bedroom home that we still own today. Put an offer in, lowballed it. They accepted it. And we said, hey, I've heard of this Airbnb thing. I think we can give this a shot and, help cover my now $691 mortgage payment, which is still the payment I make today on this property.
That's amazing.
I know. It's killer. And, we've had so many memories of that property. We went up there during COVID when everything was first shutting down and lived there for like 3 months. My daughter, I have photos of her at every stage of her life at that one property. Then land came for sale next door. So we decided to buy that. We said, let's control that land just in case we want to build on it, which we ended up building later on. A house next door to that land, a tree had fallen on it, and we happened to see, there was nobody living in it at the time, but then we happened to see somebody fixing it up, and we asked them who they were, and they were the owner or the owner's dad. So we said, are you going to sell the house? And they said, yeah. We did an off-market deal and bought that one. We ended up buying in Provincetown, and that's a whole nother part of this story, which we'll get to in a little bit. somewhere along the way. And then we bought a house up in Guilford, New Hampshire. And we did all that because we just wanted to invest and we liked real estate. And we've been listening to Bigger Pockets since 2015. I had Dave Meyer on our show, Smart Stay Show, after bumping into him at a coffee shop here in my town, Newburyport, Massachusetts. And I told him, I'm like, I think my profile predates when you joined that company. So we've been big fans of everything BP has done for a long time. It literally changed our lives. And that's how we got into it. I mean, like accidentally it got into it. And then when the media job ended, I'm like, well, let me just do this real estate thing full time because I seem to like this. And here we are.
I love hearing that because I people think I became, such a Bigger Pockets person when I started working here, but I've been a Bigger Pockets super fan myself for 8-9 years. Like it taught me everything I knew about real estate investing. And so I can't agree with that sentiment more than anything. And I love the story of just how was that your first real estate investing purchase, the short-term rental?
It was. I was in my early 40s at the time. I'm dating myself. I'm older than you and many people that are listening to this.
Still early 40s. We believe it. We believe it.
I'm older than early 40s at this point, but I am proof positive that you can do this later in your working career and life. And I speak to a lot of people I'm Gen X, and I know that it's very difficult for people in their early, mid, late 40s, early 50s, figuring out what to do if they have a job loss. And it happens all the time these days where people are making great money and then suddenly Amazon cuts 40,000 jobs and people are out of work. So, this has been not only a great fallback, but a great primary for what I'm doing now. And we built these blocks during, I don't know, like I'd still worked 7 years after I bought that property because I was working alongside being a weekend warrior with real estate. And it just was like a common interest of mine and my husband's. He's a real estate attorney and a broker. So we gave us stuff to talk about on long car rides. We would listen to the Bigger Pockets podcast and I would pause it and say, okay, Rory, what did that mean? And then we talk about that. So, it was our interest. It's what some people like going hiking and some people like, playing music. And we just really got into real estate. And that was my first investment. I owned where I lived, but that was my first second home. Right. And that's turned into like what my life is now.
2016 was definitely, it seems like on like another universe almost compared to what it is in today's market. So I don't want to even stay on that time too much because everything has just changed so much in these past few years. And you have done such a good job of expanding your portfolio and also using other people's property to supplement the properties you own and the systems you've built and, some teams and things that you already work with. And that's what I love to teach here, especially in the short-term rental world, because you don't have to own every piece of property to be successful in short-term rentals. That's actually probably one of the big, levers in short-term rentals is that you can manage some units for people and own your own. How did you grow your portfolio on the management side? I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And a lot of people watching this probably have 1 or 2 properties and they've built out some systems and they have a couple, cleaners and like a team in place of sort, and they're looking to expand, but finding a really, really good deal now, also with the down payment needed and interest rates and things, is a lot harder. So how did you expand your management side and really start to branch out there and get your first few clients over in that area?
So the irony is I said I would never do this. When I decided to really go all in with short-term rentals, I was just going to keep investing and buying more properties. And I joined a short-term rentals mastermind called STR Secrets. Everybody else in there was, learning how to co-host and build their portfolios up so they could then buy properties. I did it backwards, where I already own the properties and I looked at all these people that were building up these co-hosting, property management portfolios. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to answer to people. I just came from that world. We had clients and I'm sick of that. Let me be my own boss. But then, success is very infectious. And you see people being really good at building these businesses up. And I felt like I was underutilizing my knowledge and the skills that I was learning in this group. I said, I think I can do this. All right. And I had to muster up that confidence. All starts inside you, your own worst enemy. And I said, I can do this. And I was actually phrasing it incorrectly. I remember distinctly having lunch with somebody a couple of years ago when I first launched Pride Away. And I was like, we're going to try this business in Provincetown. And, if it doesn't work, it's no big deal. I'll just shut it down and go back to managing what we're managing. And, he looked at me, he's like, why would you even say it that way? Like, why would you consider if it fails, then you have this? It's like, make it work. And I was like, you know what? You're completely right. Like, this is very workable and I can do this. So we picked a niche that we served really well, and we went all in on that niche. And that's where I see a lot of people that are trying to build this up fail or never really get started because they don't know which direction to pick. So they're trying to be a generalist and see whatever fish they can catch. And they end up catching nothing, or they end up catching fish that nobody else wants. We already had a condo in Provincetown. That was actually our second investment in 2018. And we bought that condo. Provincetown is on the very tip of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It is an artist community. It is one of the biggest LGBTQ plus communities in the world. It's a Portuguese fishing village. It's a place that people escape for whatever personal reason they want to go there. And I don't speak Portuguese fishing really well, but I speak the gay language pretty well. And I speak short-term rentals pretty well. And I said, I don't think anybody is doing what we're doing at Pride Away particularly well in this market. It's a lot of one-offs. It's a lot of real estate agents that could manage your property on the side. It's a couple national companies, but nobody that served that one zip code. So we decided to go all in and say, listen, we are owners in this community. I pay taxes in this community. I own a property. I've managed it for a long time. I don't know everything about it, but I do know a lot about this. And I know a lot more than these other people that don't know the short-term rental side. I decided to call my friend, Ethan Sobel, who I knew through the softball and flag football leagues in Boston. I was his coach, captain, player. We played together for a long time. He had a place in P-Town and a place in Mashpee, which is also on Cape Cod. And I said, I think you'd be into this if you want to partner up. And here's what I think. Here's what I do. Here's what you do. You come in at this percentage. I'll maintain this other percentage. And let's build this business together. And he thought about it. And, the next week he came back and said, I think I want to do this with you. So I still maintain, I said to him yesterday, I said, I don't think that we would be at the size that we're at right now if I didn't bring him in. And the lesson there, because other people are like, first of all, why would you bring a partner in? And second of all, why Ethan? Because some of our friends are like him. I was like, Ethan's a good dude. Like, he's smart. He's got a good head and shoulders and he knows a lot of people. And like, we basically meshed our networks, divided up the responsibility. I do business development operations. He'll do business development, marketing. And together, we've gotten the company up to the size that we're at right now. You asked me how I found those first couple clients. I put together a really good list of property owners in Provincetown, and I did direct mail to their homes. And it shook some trees, and I got a couple of responses. And that's all I needed. I just needed a handful to prove the concept, build our systems, make sure I liked it. Because I also didn't want to get 30 clients and be like, this stinks.
Yeah. You're like, get rid of them all.
Yeah. It's like, who are you serving? You're not serving yourself. You're not serving them. You're not serving the guests. So we built it slowly. And that first summer, 2 summers ago, I think we went through the summer with 4 clients and we added a 5th one on at the end of the summer. And then we just came out of this summer having 26 that we're managing in town. And it was like a slow and steady addition of 1 here, 2 here, 1 here, 2 here. Continued direct mail. Apparently good social media. You seem to like it. I apologize to all my friends whenever they say that they see me online all the time. I'm like, I am so sorry.
Never apologize for that. You're doing what you're supposed to if they're seeing you a lot.
I see you all the time, Garrett, on social media.
There you go.
I'm like, you're doing a good job with this, but you must get the same thing. Your friends are saying like, dude, like you're all over my Instagram now. It's like, hold on. So anyway, so we did a lot of that. Like we basically built up credibility in Provincetown with tips and tricks and ideas. And it was not salesy, come work with us. It was just a bit of a praise of Provincetown and just showing how much we love operating there and how unique the community is. And then talking to the community of people who own properties there saying, whether or not you work with us, here are some things you should do to get ready for the summer, right? And we built up that social proof.
Nah, I love it because I can attest to almost everything you said because I've done something similar with the business I've built I found my niche. I was trying to throw spaghetti on the wall everywhere. Like any property that was reaching out, I'd be like, oh yeah, I can manage it. And I didn't realize that not every property is a smart one to take on as a client. You start to realize what threshold or revenue or like what fits within what you want to do. But once I started focusing on the glamping outdoor hospitality, I had 1 or 2 clients coming. I never wanted to manage and co-host either. But then it's just shocking. And you can attest to this too. Like how the incremental gains just start to pile up. And then after a couple years, like your phone, just because the word of mouth spreads so much of like how well you do and how slow it builds up. And I think one of the best, there's so many things I want to unpack from what you just said. One of the best things that you said was that you weren't being real salesy. You weren't just like, hey, I can manage it. Let me do this. I'll show you what I got. Like you were just giving value, and they'll see how knowledgeable you are from that. That's what comes with the slow burn, but the slow burn is usually the best type of clients that you're going to get. And, you talked about bringing on a partner, which, I personally have always been a little nervous of bringing on partners. But once I started to go down that route, the opportunities that have been brought to me from expanding my inner ecosphere have just been tremendous. And there's always some ups and downs, but you kind of balance those out sometimes and make sure it is the right partner like that you mentioned. This is what I want to tap on too, though, is the direct mail side. Are you still doing a lot of, because I see tips and tricks all day on how to get, property, how to get property owners. Did you attribute the direct mail side being like very, very important going into 2026 for you? Or are you finding, it could be a balance, but are you also finding that just putting out more social media content is kind of helping out? Or do you think you got to kind of encompass all of it? Because I think that's where a lot of people struggle out, how do you exactly reach these owners in a capacity where they're going to be willing to accept what you can provide?
Yeah, yes to all of that. I mean, I chose direct mail because I was able to build a list using some public information of who owned properties there, where their mailing addresses were, and if they had certificates for short-term rentals. So it was not easy, but it was easier for me to identify who I wanted to talk to. And I decided to just put together a really beautiful mailer that I designed in Canva and folded myself. And I got these bright pink, obnoxious fuchsia envelopes and hand wrote them all myself with a nice, pretty label on it. I literally sent them out all myself. I mean, it wasn't a mail house that I used. It was, here's my list. It's a finite list because I picked Provincetown, 02657. There's about 1,000 short-term rental licenses right there. I didn't focus on every property in town. I didn't focus on people that were full-time residents there. I just focused on starting with that list. And all I needed, I knew it. All I needed were a handful to contact us, and I can close a couple and then prove the concept. So yes, we do still send mailers out when properties transact. I could send a big mailer out to everybody once again, but I think that my time so far has been better spent these days focusing on the operations and focusing on serving the leads that are now coming to us, because we put so much stuff out there that we're now drawing our leads in. They're all inbound leads. And, it's not like I get 50 leads a day. It just doesn't exist. But the leads that we do have coming in are kind of pre-qualified to be really good candidates to potentially speak to. I just spoke to somebody. He has a $2.5 million house that has been on the market for a little bit. He's considering not selling it for a variety of reasons and maybe short-term renting it. So we had a good hour-long Zoom conversation yesterday. I followed it up with a Loom video today that analyzed the market that were his comps using AirDNA, gave some more opinions, sent it over to him, said, let's keep the conversation going. If you decide to go down the short-term rental route, we'd love to be your partner. And if not, it was great to meet you. And on we go. And the more of those conversations I have, the more come back to me in the form of signed contracts. I don't want it to come across as arrogant or anything, but sometimes I'll send some agreements out. I'll send it out if I have a conversation with somebody being like, hey, listen, why don't I also send you a copy of my agreement? So you could just take a look at my terms and everything. And if you have any questions, just let me know. And there'll be agreements that I didn't forget I sent them out, but I've moved on to the next thing. And then in my inbox is a signed agreement. I was like, which is this one? And I'll say, oh my God, these guys signed. It's awesome. Here we go. Let's get started with the property. It's been a good, steady increase that, to be perfectly honest, even surprised me.
That's what happens when you lead with value. And the warm inbound leads are you spent that time building up your reputation, sending out, doing all of the harder work that a lot of people don't want to do. I've had great success with mailers too. I've always shocked myself sometimes with how many calls I get back from a mailer. But now that after doing this for a long time, like the easiest ones are when people are reaching out to you, and that comes from some time and putting out the value like you did. You mentioned that when you're talking with owners, you'll send them some advice or how you'll set up the operations. Like, what are some key points that you have found that in your conversation, like really kind of win the owner over, that maybe you provide, or ways that you excel in your operations that maybe somebody watching could, help implement into their own operations?
I worked on the sales side for a long time in the media business as a sales manager. So I saw a lot of different situations when you're selling to people. You really want to listen to them and probably do more listening than talking and selling. It's always a good idea to start the conversation, after your niceties and, nice to meet you, whatever, just lay it out there. Like, what's your goal? Tell me what your goal is with the property. Because people forget to ask that question a lot. And then they just immediately go into like how they can help that property. It's like, well, how do you know how to help that property? You don't even know what this person's goal is on the property. Provincetown is interesting in that it is the type of place that is a lifelong dream for people in the gay communities to own property. All right. Like people, it just kind of is. And we do have a number of straight owners, and a lot of our guests, about 25%, are straight. But it is a lifelong dream for most people who, at least here on the East Coast, to own property in Provincetown. With that is they want to use it. All right. This is not a traditional investment type market where people are looking to park their money, do a cost segregation study, depreciate everything down, offset some other income, and then, have an investment property that they never set foot in. 90% of the people that we work with, it is their second home. They use the property. It's a very kind of different feeling that I have versus some of my peers who deal with absentee owners all the time. Like, they don't really have to deal with the owners showing up at the property for an owner stay as much as we do. So it changes the conversation a little bit, and I appeal to them as an owner myself. I lean heavily on the fact that I've owned in this market since 2018. I have been a short-term rental manager of my own property, other properties in that long period of time. I'm a 34-time Airbnb Superhost. I'm a host community leader. And I was just at Airbnb for meetings about a month ago, so I kind of build that credibility up a little bit, but I try to appeal to them as another person that gets P-Town. We're not even a company that manages across Cape Cod. There's other competitors that we have where they'll do properties in East Ham and Orleans and Harwich and all these other beautiful places on Cape Cod, and P-Town is on their list. And I'm like, no, that's all we do. We know the town, like we know the contractors, we know the places to go eat. I'm you. That was intentional. I'm not making any of that stuff up either. Let me focus on what I know. Let me not pick a random market that seems to be a really good short-term rental market because of the list that you guys publish. And let me pick this other market that nobody would invest in. It is not the market that you're going to park money in if you're looking to buy, a short-term rental. You're only allowed to own two and have two licenses under your name because they want to keep out the big institutional investors. But it's also so expensive to buy in Provincetown that people that are now buying property, unless they're independently wealthy, which is possible, a lot of times they really just want to have most of their bills offset so they could then use this dream home that they've always wanted to own. And then in the future, maybe it could be part of their retirement. I feel like I relate directly to the people that I'm speaking with. And that, I think, has helped build our credibility in their minds. Plus, we're an open book. We don't lie. We are who we are. And we try to purport ourselves that way and try to be very friendly toward the owners and the guests. I think we do a pretty good job.
I think y'all are doing a great job. And I think your story is a great way to everybody thinks that they have to go to the Smoky Mountains to invest, and or Gulf Shores or all these hot ticket places, which I am definitely part of part of driving some of the hysteria to some of these markets with the list we put out. But I can't agree with you more because I only invest in two different markets, and they're not markets that anybody really knows. I know that they're, around metro areas, but I also now have such a stranglehold on those two markets because I have every team in place over there. Everything is cheaper for me over there because of the economies of scale. Like, if I'm going to that area, I can visit 5 or 6 houses within a day, as opposed to trying to go to Joshua Tree and then go to, the Smokies and all that. So I don't always want people to just get so tied in that they can't find something that's more for them, that they can kind of just own that market to the best of their abilities. And that's kind of what you've done. And I think part of it too is you're a really good host. All the tips you give out, everything that I've seen, like, you know what you're doing on the hosting side. And that is very, very crucial to build that guest experience, loyalty, revenue up for the owners, everything that we all kind of desire. What have you implemented, or what do you plan on implementing for 2026 that you know is instantly increasing the guest experience? Even if it's small tips that maybe you're seeing other hosts out there overlook, or what is, I know you have something secret in your bag that you've been kind of like helping out on the whole guest experience side that is really driving some of these great reviews that you get.
That's so interesting you said that about the reviews. I had lunch with a client a couple days ago, and at the end of it, he's like, Jason, I have a question for you. Like, I don't understand how you're able to get the guests to say the things they say in the reviews. They're almost like you've scripted them for him. And I said to him, I said, it's really funny you say that, because I see so many of these reviews come in. I'm almost like desensitized to them. Like, we do read every one of them just in case there's any feedback that we need to implement a change with the property. But like, I thought about it and reflected and said, man, he's right. And I'm like, I don't know how I do that. I think that I do it because I think that not only do we describe our properties correctly, but they live up to exactly what they think they're getting when they show up. Hopefully more, but at least they know exactly what they're getting and not less. The couple times that I feel like somebody felt like they got less than they expected, I made changes to how I described it as a result. We have a cadence of messages that we send out, prior to arriving, upon check-in, like 11 a.m. the next day, shortly before checkout, on checkout. There's a message when you book.
What do your checkout messages say? I feel like that's something that a lot of people drop the ball on in nailing on the check-in and checkout messages. What do you try to address within those when you're doing that?
We make sure that they know that at 10:01 a.m. the door will lock behind them and they're unwelcome beyond that point. No, we don't do that. The checkout messages are just, thanking them for staying with us, really appealing to them and saying, like, it's super busy in the summertime on Saturdays, especially if that's when you happen to be leaving. Please, respect the checkout time so our cleaners, can really get all their work done at all the properties around town. Here's a short list of things to do, upon checkout. Leave the bed unmade if you used it. Leave the towels on the floor, make sure you bring the garbage out, don't forget all your stuff. And then, further down, it's like, thanks so much for staying. We hope you'll stay with us again. Like, if you had a 5-star experience, reviews mean a lot to us. If anything was less than 5 stars, please let us know. We no longer have a link to our book again message because Airbnb doesn't like that. So, we can't do any of that. And then, afterward, if they didn't review us yet, we'll send a gentle reminder, asking for, if they had a 5-star experience, then we would love it if they can, give us a review because they mean the world to us. Like, we always pepper in the word 5-star. That's kind of what comes back to us a lot. We do not coach people as to what to physically say in the actual text of the review. And I'm very surprised that sometimes those responses come back with such vivid, positive detail that they do. I think that Airbnb, they do a pretty good job in also coaching the guests as to what to say in the reviews, because I've been on the other side of it as well, where I have to submit the review. And, sometimes I kind of forget what that customer experience is on that side. And then when I went through it most recently, I was like, okay, they're trying to get me to talk about what it was like at this property. So I do appreciate them trying to get that out of the guests. But what else are we doing into next year? Messaging is so critical. We have auto messages that help our lives. But when the messages come in that we have to respond to, like a human, we do have a customer service team. I have 2 virtual assistants that are working and myself. We also work with HostBuddy right now, who Jay. The combination of those things has really helped up the game with the messaging that we send out. We've coached HostBuddy with our guest guides that we publish through TouchStay. We export those out and import them into HostBuddy. We've also connected HostBuddy to Notion, which is kind of our productivity software, because they now have integration where they can pull information about the properties directly from there. So it should help make the AI a little bit smarter. Yeah, just good communication. We're just going to continue down that road and try to make sure that the guests have everything that they're looking for.
I love it. And I was going to get into that because managing 30 plus rentals, it's definitely a little time consuming. So I was going to talk about what kind of team you had helping you, and then what everybody loves to always ask in the comments. It blows my mind of like what your tech stack is. Apparently that is a hot topic always. Anytime I have a guest on, they're mad that I don't ask about the tech stack. So what is your team like and what is your tech stack?
Currently, we have 2 virtual assistants who are working with us overseas. They're doing a very good job. I walk every property myself with property walkthrough videos. I'm in town on a fairly regular basis where I'm checking out the properties, at least with video and photos, to equip the rest of my team to really understand those properties really well. We have a team on the ground in Provincetown right now. I'm working with 10 different cleaning companies in town just to not overburden anyone individually. I kind of pick and choose the right situation for the right property. We have a runner in town, actually 2 kind of runner handyman people that can take care of issues that are happening on the ground. We just pay them for their time whenever something pops up. So I literally just saw one of them yesterday. Everything's good. She's super happy. I'm like, just make sure you keep billing us for whenever we ask to go do something. Oh, I get it. She calls me a Heffy. I'm like, I'm not your boss,
Hey,
right?
call me that too. And I'm
You have your own company, right? We're working together at this. So we have that operation on the ground. Some of the cleaners come from other spots on Cape Cod into P-Town. They just love doing that drive instead of driving the other direction where there's more traffic. And I have a social media person who helps out with our growth on social. We have a bookkeeper who is not me. So we have Keystone Bookkeepers out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Ben Coons. Shout out to him. STR Secrets is my network. So those are my people that I can ask questions of whenever I really don't know what's going on. I have Rory as our counsel in case I need him for any issues that are popping up. I have Wister Insurance as my insurance company. I personally work with Proper Insurance for my own properties. We work with Wavo for damage protection. All 3 of those companies are connected. And Tech Stack, we have Price Labs for dynamic pricing. We have Hospitable as our PMS and for our direct booking. We have TouchStay for interactive guidebooks. We have Host Buddy for any AI assistance that we need with communications. Host Buddy is actually really good at putting together a list of issues that happen based on the conversations, which I have my VAs scouring all the time to make sure we fix all those things. I have Notion for my productivity behind the scenes. And what else am I forgetting?
or what are you using for cleaning automations?
Yes, we have Breezeway for cleaning.
Nice.
And we put that tech stack together over time, right? It wasn't like I just went out there and hired all those companies. I think the only one that we've added on this year was Host Buddy. Once I've vetted for an issue, I try to move on to the next thing. So there's all these great PMSs that are out there, but I don't need them because I'm happy with what we have right now. We use AirDNA also for intelligence. I should say that. And of course, we use Bigger Pockets for community and for
There we go. No, that's awesome. It's always just interesting to hear the insights of what some people are using, what tools they can implement. And you made a great point. You don't need all of these things when you start, and you didn't you kind of get them together and get ahead of them as they go. But every time people are like, well, why do I need a property management software? And they hear all these tech stacks and they just get overwhelmed. And it's I'm sure you might be the same as me. As I just started with Logify, which is my property management software, which that was my first thing. And I was like, this is cool. I like it. And I kept doing a little bit. And then I'd go, okay, I need some way to automate my cleaners. And that's when I started using Turno. And then I was like, well, how am I going to price the property? That's when I use Price Labs. And you just slowly kind of add on. You can't expect to know everything you don't know when you're first getting started. And, shout out to Host Buddy too. Jay is an awesome guy. It's a great company. I use it on all my properties as well. And it's an amazing product. So I always like shouting that out because it is definitely something that has popped up that was really valuable for what hosts need out there.
I do have to say though, just over 3 years ago, I didn't have any of that stuff. All right. And we were hosting a predecessor to Smart Stay Show. It was the Real Estate Law podcast. I had some short-term rental people on, and they were talking about PMSs. And I'm like, oh yeah, let me write that on my list of things to check out. Right. And that was right when my job was ending and I was going to be doing this full time now. That's how quickly it all evolved. And then when I joined STR Secrets, I got way overwhelmed with the amount of different tech companies that were out there and all their names sound the same. You're paralyzed by this choice. It's like going to a paint store and you're like, oh my God, there's 400 colors right here. Can you simplify this and give me 40 options and I'll be happier? So finally, I just picked directions and went with them. And my life had a lot more calmness in it. I didn't mean to create all this anxiety by just going down these tech stack roads, but I could see other people just freezing up and not knowing where to go. So, what we teach, when people come and they need some coaching from us, we just teach what we know, so we don't even tell them hey, listen, go vet these 5 different PMSs. We just say, just sign up with Hospitable. Here's my code.
You don't even need some of these tech stacks and things like that. Especially if this is your first property and you're just sometimes you just need to get started on it and get a little trial by fire. And you're going to learn a lot very quickly in these type of processes. Just Jason and I both have. As we kind of wrap up everything, and I know there's going to be a ton of questions. If you have any questions for Jason, leave them in the comments, and we'll definitely have him come back on for a part 2 on some real high level operations, or how he's integrating all of these softwares on a more complicated level. But what are you seeing going into 2026 that is almost a must-have on the investment side for, like you deal with a lot of owners and things, and every area is different. So I don't want to give you a big blanket answer necessarily, but what kind of is it the amenities that are really driving places? Is it the design? Is it just having a good, clean, solid place with good reviews and then reasonable pricing? What have you seen in your area in particular kind of shift the scales for the more successful owners, or properties, maybe is a better way to put it?
Being dog friendly.
Yep.
Everyone wants to travel to Provincetown with their dogs. So even New Hampshire, we serve multi-generational families in New Hampshire, and we host dogs and families all the time. I think it makes it easier because I think your property opens up to more potential renters. If you look at our portfolio, if you go to prideawaystays.com and see the types of properties that we have there, none of us that are doing this at this level have really bad properties. They look nice, right? The first sniff test is, do you have amazing photos? Is the property well constructed? Is there something unique about this property? I've always thought that when people travel for leisure, they want to stay somewhere that's different from where they're coming from, and usually nicer, but not always. If you want a cabin in the woods, but you have a 3,000 square foot brand new home back home, that home is nicer than the cabin in the woods. But if they want to stay in a Garrett Brown geodome, right, that is different from where they live, presuming they don't live in a geodome back home. In Provincetown, people want that experience of P-Town. They want to be convenient. They might want to be able to walk home from the bars, at 1 a.m, maybe alone, maybe not. They want to be able to see a place that's colorful and has some local flavor and culture. But ideally, it's not an old rundown place. The housing stock there is a mixture of lots of old places that have been around since the 1800s and new construction. So some of these older places, if they look dated and they look like a rental, they're going to be treated as such by the people that are going there. If the soft surfaces, like the mattresses and sofas and everything, are not comfortable, people are going to say something about it. But the majority of our places either look stunning or they have awesome local art and color and flavor, and the owners have kind of put their heart and soul into the properties. So that's what I think that people should be looking toward next year. It doesn't have to be I need to have a barrel sauna, otherwise I'm screwed, right? Yes, of course you want to have some of these amenities that people are looking for in whatever market that you're in, but stand out. We've been saying this for so long. Stand out, deliver a good product, have great communication, respect your guests, and it'll come back to you. It just will.
I love it. I think that's very good practical advice. And I can't agree more on the dog friendly thing. I have a friend in Florida that made 6 figures on pet fees alone in his rental portfolio. And I don't know if we all can agree on this, but I have had the least damage from pets. And usually it's kids and teenagers that have actually caused the most. Even adults, honestly. Adults are worse than pets I've seen. So I will digress on that fact, but I can't agree more with that. It opens up such a myriad of options for people coming into that area, for guests to actually see your place popping up. And if you're one of the few that's offering that advantage, you're going to always stand out, just like you said. And
stuff's going to happen with pets. I mean, I had a dog tear up my kitchen at my place in P-Town. And the owner, he ripped up, there was a baby gate that he destroyed. And then there was the back of a door that he flipped the F out, when they were, I guess they left for the day. So, they sent me pictures of all the scratches in the back of the door and the wood kind of cross that's in the window that was all scratched up. But, they admitted it and they were apologetic, and I got my handyman to fix it. It was $800. I pushed that one through air cover. They paid it immediately because they knew that their dog screwed up. So yeah, it'll happen sometimes.
For sure. And air cover gets a bad rap from a lot of people, just as everybody loves to be negative about everything. But I've had good experience with air cover myself. They've paid most things, debatable on some things, but I also use Safely now, kind of, which is, comparable to Wavo, and they've helped. They're an amazing company as well too. And it really is. It's a selling point for me when I'm talking to owners of hey, I have this guest damage protection that we can offer, and it always pushes a lot of things through for me.
And I will say the one little strange fact as to why I didn't go through Wayvo for that one is because that property I don't have on Wayvo, because my personal ones I decided to pull off there because I had a stupid little fight with them about a year ago, and I showed them up and I said, well, I'm taking these 5 properties off. And now I'm looking back, I should probably get it back on now because I have a really good rate with Wayvo, the amount of bookings that we're doing now. So that might be my action item after this recording.
There you go. You'll leave us some homework from this one too. If anybody wants to connect with you, where's the best place for them to reach out for you?
Instagram at Jason Muth, MUTH, or PrideAwayStays, prideawaystays.com. I'm easy to find.
Awesome. We'll leave that all in the description below. Jason, thank you so much for joining. If you made it this far in the video, please hit subscribe. Let us know what kind of content you want to see on the next episode, and we'll look forward to seeing y'all then. Take care.